Final Destination 6, Final Destination Bloodlines is my most anticipated film of the decade, of the year, of the century. What's up everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel Real Horror. My name is Thiago and I'm so pleased to have you here on this video. So thank you so much for clicking on this video because welcome to the season of Final Destinations. This movie is coming out in less than 40 days by the time I'm making this video. So exciting stuff. This movie is coming out on May 16 and for the next couple of weeks before the release of the new film, my videos are gonna be all about Final Destinations. And in today's video, as you read by the title, what we're gonna do is I'm going to be analyzing the filmography of the directors of Final Destination 6 because these two guys are like kind of new because they've done stuff in the horror genres, in the film industry, and they're like, it's the first time they're touching Final Destination. So we gotta talk about a few things here about them, about how I feel about them, like in which hands is Final Destination 6, Final Destination Bloodlines, it's standing. So these two guys, these two friends, these two Canadian friends, they've directed horror films in the past and one non-horror film. So I watched all of them for the first time just to see like where is Final Destination 6 standing, like who directed my most anticipated film of the decade, if that makes sense. So I wanted to see how they worked in the past. They've been in the industry for almost 10 years or for 10 years, let's say. So yeah, like they are not new, like they've directed films before, they worked with big actors before. So I'm very curious. Obviously this video, what I'm trying to do with this video, I just want to know what they did before, and I think that's normal. That's something we do with like directors, or like when we go and rewatch old films from directors that we love, just to see how much they have improved. Let's just start talking about these two guys, the directors of Final Destination 6 Bloodlines, and they are Zach Lebowski and Adam V. Stein. Now, to make things easier and to make things smoother, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through the years because, believe it or not, Zach, one of the directors, he debuted all the way in 2013. So that's been a while, and I'm gonna go through 2013 to the latest film. So the debut of Zach by himself was in 2013 with a film called Tasmanian Devils. Tasmanian Devils, The Hunt Has Begun. Danica and an Olympic speed skating champion Apollo Ohono take on a deadly mythical beast in the new sci-fi Saturday original movie Tasmanian Devil. Now that synopsis honestly is not the greatest, and as so is the film. So with this movie, with Tasmanian Devils, I'm gonna be doing like positives and negatives from each film, and unfortunately with this movie, this is not a good film. I gave this movie half star out of 5, so not the best start to watch like the directors of Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. So I don't know what was really going on in this film, this movie. A few positives that I have to say is like this being the debut of someone that is like getting into the industry is pretty cool because like this guy managed to do different stuff with so little that he had. For example, working with some actors, doing some like race sequences, obviously trying to work with like a mystic kind of like creature, horror creature, working at the forest. So like those practical things are like the positive aspects that I have to give to this movie. But unfortunately the movie is not good. Like obviously the acting from everyone is horrendous, and honestly the storyline is very forgettable. Like I'm trying to remember that film, but honestly it was not that great, and just like it was too cartoonish. Like everything looked too cartoonish. It was everything, the CGI was not the greatest. So this is a very forgettable film, not the best start for me to analyze their filmography. But yeah, like as a director in this film, I could see the passion of this film because you could tell like the actors were told to do this, to do that, but unfortunately that acting and that storyline was not the greatest, and everything in particular it didn't look nice. Let's say the cinematography was not the greatest, the lighting was not the greatest, So yeah, I'm glad that this was a debut and that this guy has been improving, so not much to say about the Tasmanian Devils. So let's move on from that film and let's go to the next film from 2015, directed also by Zack only, and that will be Dead Rising Watchtower. The synopsis of this film is pretty much just one line, and it basically says a group of people fight to survive in a zombie infested town. So obviously, I was very excited when I read that little line because it's about a zombies, it's about survival, it's about a little town, and the cast is actually like quite popular. I forgot the name, but this guy, he was massive in the 2000s and in the 2010s. So yeah, it was cool to see him, I guess, on a horror film. And this movie, obviously, the budget difference is insane compared to Tasmanian Devils from 2013. Things look richer, like the blood looks way richer, and the location is way richer. It's so much better. Cinematography is insane. It's like, I mean, not insane, but like it's so much better. Like obviously I have to compare. Sound design is great, acting is better, directing obviously is so much better. So huge props to Zack for like this improvement compared to Tasmanian Devils. Storyline is heavier, script is heavier, so those are like the positive things that I'm giving to this film. Like this movie is about zombies, and believe it or not, I think writing a zombies film is not easy because it's not just writing the dead people, you know, like it's all about what's around them. I think the isolation of town with the characters, it was pretty cool. I also like that the politics involved in this movie were too realistic. Like if a zombie apocalypse happens nowadays, I wouldn't be surprised if what happens in these films will happen in real life, you know, like where depending on your status you get to have more protection or less protection. So like huge pros for Zack to doing this social commentary so early in his career, let's say. So yeah, those are like mostly the positive aspects. Obviously that the directing of like the zombies, like the extras, pretty insane. Like having a zombie film for your second feature is actually insane, because his previous film Tasmanian Devils, obviously not a good film, nothing to work on that film. So jumping from there to directing zombies, directing extras, directing like your makeup team and all of that is huge. So pros for Zack for doing this, for taking that huge change. And also, I didn't like this film, let me just say it, and I gave this movie 2 stars out of 5, but that doesn't take the fact that I enjoyed some aspects, the ones I mentioned before. But I do have to say that I don't know if it's because of the runtime or because this was based on a video game. I haven't played the video game, but I know some people have and they didn't like it so much. So I don't know if he had so many changes, especially as a newbie in the industry, in this film. And you could tell this was like inspired by a video game, which is not a bad thing, but you could tell so many changes happened maybe against his will, because the storyline was very, very boring from what I remember. I watched this movie a while ago, but from what I remember, the characters, even though the acting was good, their personality, their characterization was very boring, and the way they were interacting with like the zombies and the town was pretty boring, even though the concept and the script is great. And I think that's all thanks to Zack, because there's even like a Civil War kind of vibes going in this film. Like if you've watched Civil War from last year, something similar was happening in this movie. So that was pretty interesting. I just wish the execution was better, but I do have a feeling that that was not because of Zack. That was because of like maybe the producers or like the company distributing this film, that they wanted to make all of those changes. I don't think that was Zack's decision, because like I said before, this is based on a video game, so maybe they wanted to remove so many things that Zack wanted to do. Now the next film that we're gonna be talking about was also directed by Zack only, and that will be a franchise film, actually an Origins film, a prequel kind of film, and that will be Leprechaun Origins. Horror icon is reborn. Two young couple backpacking through Ireland discovers that one of Ireland's most famous legends is a terrifying reality. Now, I'm just gonna say this was not a good film. So like his early career, Zack's early career is not the strongest, and with Leprechaun Origins, like I said before, positives and negatives. One of the positives is huge props for him to touch like a franchise film so early in his career. And I also liked like the whole synopsis was cool, especially for the time that it came out. This movie came out in 2014, and I also liked the makeup. I also liked the way he directed, let's say, the chase scenes, the characters, the villain. Let's say a few of the kills were pretty cool. They were pretty gunly, so that was pretty cool to see from this director. But yeah, like that's more or less. The script was fine. Like it was not the strongest script ever, but it was okay. So those things I appreciated. But unfortunately, this movie is not that great, especially because it's coming to be like the prequel of a franchise that's been going on for decades. I haven't seen any of the Leprechaun films ever, and I don't think I will, because I didn't like this film, so I don't see myself doing that for now, let's say. And some of my mutuals on Letterboxd that didn't like this film, like one of my friends, Haunted Hippie, Kylie, she didn't like this movie at all. So, you know, like, this movie is well popular as being not liked, if that makes sense. I think this movie was pretty cringy. Like, it didn't feel like a Leprechaun film, and I haven't seen this franchise, but I didn't feel like I was watching Ireland's most horrifying villain, let's say. I just felt like I was watching, let's say, group of students going to the forest and they come across something creepy, or not even creepy, just something weird. But I didn't feel like I was in Ireland, in their culture, in their forest, and I didn't feel like I was coming across this huge villain. And the last act in this movie was not the greatest. I don't know if it's because everything looked too dark for no reason. So not the best film. Like, it's not a secret this movie has like around 1.8 on Letterboxd, so it's not a loved film by any means. And yeah, like, this movie just didn't work as an origins film. The direction was not the strongest coming from Zack. So I don't know what happened there. This movie is 11 years old now, and I was very excited to watch this movie because the poster looked actually very good. But as the movie was progressing, I was feeling less and less and less interested, if that makes sense. So the directing from Zack in this movie, not the strongest, but we will see how he has improved in my next talk. The next film they're gonna be talking about is Freaks, and this is the first film that they both directed together, both Zack and Adam. They look just like us, kept locked inside the house by her father. 7-year-old Chloe lives in fear and fascination of the outside world, where abnormals create a constant threat, or so she believes. When a mysterious stranger offers her a glimpse of what's really happening outside, Chloe soon finds that while the truth isn't so simple, the danger is very real. Now with this movie, honestly, this movie was very, very good. I gave this movie 3.5 stars out of 5. So I'm glad that they both collaborated for the first time in such a good film. I think Freaks should be watched like by the horror community because it was pretty unique, it was pretty original, especially for the year that it came out, which is 2018. And the directing from both of these guys in this movie was pretty awesome, because the casting from like the father and like the directing to the daughter, like the 7-year-old actress, was really, really good, because that actress did so well in this movie. She carried this movie so well. So I'm really glad that she had those two guys as directors, and that gives me like, that tells me that they've improved so much, especially Zack, because he's the guy we had follow in 3 films before. So I'm so glad that he improved for this film. The script in this movie is pretty unique, it's pretty original, it's very like sci-fi, end of the world kind of film, so that's not easy to write, that's not easy to make. So I'm very happy that they managed to give this concept properly, because this concept could have been so bad or so boring, but in this case it was not. Freaks was honestly very surprising. The use of location was pretty cool, the outside world was pretty cool, and how the little girl interacted with them. I like how our directors, they wrote and how they directed and how they combined sci-fi with horror. That was pretty interesting. One of the actresses actually from Final Destination 3, the actress that plays Julie, is in this film, so it was pretty cool to see that cameo and to see that the directors of Final Destination 6 worked with a Final Destination icon in a previous film. And I don't know, I feel like the whole sound design was also pretty awesome. The editing was pretty cool too, so you could tell the directors were so involved in the making of, you know, like I could see the passion in this film so well, like even better than in the 3 films that we have talked about coming from Zack. So with Freaks, I felt intrigued, I felt the storyline, I was rooting for the characters, I was liking the storyline so much because it was very like interesting and unique and genuine, those kind of things. So if you're into like sci-fi meets horror, end of the world kind of things, you might like Freaks. I really liked it. It was obviously not horrifying, it was not disturbing, scary, but it was interesting. And I think for a film, for a debut duo, this movie worked so well. A few things obviously that I didn't like in this movie were, personally, I didn't like that the looks of the film at times felt too cheap, even though the budget of this movie is pretty high. I also didn't like that the ending felt pretty rushy and some of the CGI involved was not the greatest. And I also didn't like that in the middle act, from what I remember, the movie was pretty dragging. Like the movie felt long, even though the movie is not long, so that's not something good, because obviously that tells me that the script was like stretched out, and that's not something good in films, you know, because you want to keep your audience interest throughout like the whole time. But in this case, I lost my interest for a while, for like a good 30 minutes, if that makes sense. That was not really good, but overall, good film. This movie didn't do bad on Letterboxd. This movie had like a 3.1 on Letterboxd, so that's pretty high for like a debut kind of film and for like a very original horror that not many people have seen before. So some of my mutuals on Letterboxd are giving like 5 stars, 4, 3.5. So I would love to see how you feel about Freaks. I think this movie was really well directed, especially for like newbies in the industry, especially coming from Adam, because this was his first film, and coming from Zack, you could tell how much improvement he had for the last couple of years before he directed Freaks with his friend. So I don't know what happened, because the next film that we're gonna be talking about is not really a good film. So I don't know what happened with these two guys, because the next film that they worked together before Final Destination 6, so this is the last film they worked on together, is the live action of Disney's Kim Impossible. Everyday teen hero Kim Impossible and her best friend Ron stoppable and Mark on their freshman year of high school, all while saving the world from evil villains. While Kim and Ron have always been on one step ahead of their opponents, navigating the social heritage of high school is more challenging than the action hero ever imagined. So if you are like me, you might have grown up with like the series from Disney back from like 2005 to 2008, something like that. I really liked the series growing up. I think Kim Impossible on the series, she was pretty cool, she was pretty like legend, like she was pretty charismatic, like the storylines, they were pretty cool, the animation was pretty cool. And so yeah, I really liked the series growing up. Let me know if you have watched the series, which like those series are really popular. So I'm sure many people were excited for this film, even though this movie came out way too late. Like this movie came out 10 years after the finale of the show, so pretty late to the party when it comes to releasing a movie based on the series, especially if it's a live action. So I did not like this film. I gave this movie 1 star out of 5. Not the greatest, and it's a huge disappointment because the directors, they had just released Freaks a year ago, you know, so I don't really know what happened there. Maybe it's because of Disney, maybe Disney producers, executors, they made the directors change so many things, but they still directed the film, they still wrote it, so I don't really know what happened in this place. This movie was really lifeless, and the characters, they were very boring. like nothing makes sense, everything looks too cringy, and the casting in this movie is actually good. Like if you look to the actors that worked in this film, you will be surprised. So yeah, I don't really know what happened here. I'm trying to understand what could have happened, but I just don't see it. So I don't even know why the directors decided to go from Freaks to a Disney live action kind of film, you know. So a few positives is that I like the main girl in this live action. I think she was pretty realistic when it comes to like being a teenager and being a spy, so that was cool. I also like some of the action sequences here and there. I didn't like the villains in the series. They were really iconic, and especially the green girl, like the black green hair. But in this live action, she was not good at all. They were all like just like adults with makeup and an outfit. Do give me like a drama show for like a high school, you know. And this is a high budget film, so I don't really know what happened there. The storyline, again, not entertaining, so lifeless. I couldn't care less about these characters. The creature, that animal, didn't look nice in a live action. Rob was way too stupid in this film, and like it didn't give justice to Rob from the series, if that makes sense. So yeah, not many positive things to talk about in this movie. The directing, honestly, not the strongest. So I don't know what happened with Zach and Adam in this movie, because I didn't like it at all. I think the directing was not the strongest. Like the characters, you could tell that the actors and actresses, they didn't more or less how to work on the script, on these landscapes, on the sets, you know. Like everything felt too rushy, or like they didn't make it, maybe they didn't do many rehearsals, or there was not that strong communication. I don't know if it's because like the cast in Kim Possible, they were all like teenagers, early teenagers, so maybe a lot of complications happened on set. This movie came out in 2019. Final Destination was made in 2024. So, like a lot of years were in between. So I'm so sure they changed and they grew in between. So going through the ranking of the films from these directors, I think the worst film will be Tasmanian Devils, just because it looked really bad and everything, like you could barely see anything, so not the strongest film. And when it comes to the directing, even though you could see the passion, like you can tell Zach struggled to give the storyline that he wrote. Next one will be Kim Impossible. I said before, this movie was not good. It didn't work as a live action. I don't know what was happening in that film. I don't know what was going through like these characters, these actors, these directors to make this film, because it was so lifeless, and it's a pain because this is based on a very iconic series. So I don't know what happened there. Next one will be Leprechaun Origins. Honestly, this movie, I could save some aspects from this movie, but again, very weak directing and performances, storyline, especially because this was touching like a franchise territory. So I don't know what happened there. Like most of these films is like, I don't know what happened there. But the next film will be Dead Rising, and this is coming at second place just because I like this movie was like richer when it comes to a script and a storyline, having a zombies apocalypse kind of world combined with a civil war at the same time. That was pretty strong, and obviously the kills, the makeup, the look of the zombies, it was cool. I just wish that the movie was not that boring. The best films that these guys have released is Freaks from 2018. I think this movie is actually very good. It's very original, very unique, and it's something that I would recommend to horror fans overall, especially if you are into like sci-fi meets horror. That was it. Those are more or less my thoughts on the career of these two directors, the directors of Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. I have so much hope for these guys for this movie, because obviously so many things have changed. You're always growing, you're always developing yourself as a filmmaker, so I'm sure these guys learned so much in the next couple of years before making Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. And obviously the crew that is involved, like a lot of things could make a huge difference. But it was important for me to see what have they've made before Final Destination, just to get to know them as a directors more or less. But I'm sure they have grown and they have changed. So I'm very excited to see how they directed Final Destination 6 Bloodlines. So we just gotta wait and see in less than 40 days. But thanks so much for being with me. Let me know if you have watched the movies from these directors before, or if you haven't, if you will, now that you have watched this video. And in the next couple of videos, expect, like I said before, so much Final Destination content. I really hope you're excited for it. I know that I am, but this was the kickoff, because what a better way to kick off these kind of videos than talking about the actual director. So I hope that you have a nice end of the day. Thanks so much for spending some time with me to talk about the directors of Final Destination Bloodlines. I really hope you have a nice end of the week, end of the day. We will talk so soon for Final Destination. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.